I haven't shown you my tattoos that have adorned my body because you're not married to me, so you don't get to see them. Hey there, thanks for tuning in again today to KDOI Podcasting. I'm your head instigator, Timothy Kimo Brien, and this is Kimo's Den of Iniquity. Wow, we have had one great season. Let me tell you, 13 projects in 26 weeks. I know, I'm amazed to get all that done in a short amount of time. And think about it. Some artists take about 6 months to do just one project. We knocked out 13 projects in 6 months. That is amazing, folks. Now, this episode, I want to remember some of the projects that really resonated with me, and we're going to discuss what's going to happen in season 3 and what that's going to look like from my vantage point. But as always, I really would enjoy your input on where you would like to take this project. So here's the contact info in order to do that. Email address is kdoipodcasting@gmail.com. Twitter and Instagram are both at KDOI_podcasting. I make it simple for you folks. Simple. And then, of course, you can join the Facebook group, TKBrien72, TKBrien72, and the TK and the B are capitalized. The 72, I found out, is not capitalized. Do not capitalize the 72, folks. It's no good for you. Just recently here, we went on TeePublic, TeePublic, and if you go KDOI_podcasting, you're going to see t-shirts, mugs, stickers, all that good stuff. And what are we going to have on there, folks? Well, we're going to have the new logo. I'm doing a little bit foreshadowing here. We're going to have the new logo out there, and then we're also going to have the show art from season 2. Each episode, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but each episode had its own unique show art for that. I was playing around with something this season that I didn't do last season because didn't quite know about it and didn't have the time to teach myself in season 1 because I was so busy just getting everything set up and finding my rhythm and all that good stuff. So all of season 2's show art is going to, or episode art, is going to be on TeePublic. So by the time you get this, it'll be perfect because it'll be holiday. And, whatever holiday you're celebrating, whether it be Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, the winter solstice, whatever the demon spaghetti monster from outer space, whatever holiday that is, will be a perfect gift, especially for that holiday, whatever that is. And you know what you need to do? You need to write into me and tell me what that holiday is, if you so desire and choose. But if you go to TeePublic and look up KDOI_podcasting, you're going to see everything there. You'll see the new logo. And I'll talk a little bit about that new logo in a little bit here, okay? But that way you can go ahead and grab some of the artwork that I'm putting out there for you. And, oh my gosh, you can put some of your artwork there. You can get it on a t-shirt, a mug. You can get it on a onesie for babies. I mean, and babies listen to podcasts. Absolutely. At least they should. My babies listen to podcasts, and they're 4 years old. Your babies need to as well. Whether your baby is 46 years old and, still living in the house, or whether your baby is fresh out of the oven and needs something to soothe the savage breast, go to TeePublic and, you can go ahead and make it. I made my stuff for free, and, you can contact me and you can ask me, hey, Tim, how'd you do that? And you know what? It's no big secret. I'll show you how to do it. All right, so this is a wrap-up show, and that's one thing I like to do in each of my seasons. I like to do a wrap-up. I like to think about, kind of go back over what we did, some of the stuff that we did right, some of the stuff that really resonates with me, and some of the stuff that didn't quite go off like I thought it would. And you know what, folks? It's okay. I make mistakes, and sometimes it's in the mistakes that we learn the most. When we get stuff done right the first time, we don't necessarily learn anything from it. Or if, we do it all the time, and we do it really good all the time, we don't really learn anything new off of it. It's the times when we go, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen, when we actually learn some cool stuff. All right, so let's go back down memory lane. But remember back in season 1, we talked with Heather Moon about painting, and she let us know that, the time it takes for oils to dry. Well, in season 2, we had y'all do the oil painting, and I was doing the oil painting, and I didn't quite complete that project. It's still hanging up on my wall in October when I'm recording this, and I do intend to get that knocked out probably over the Christmas break, while I'm sitting and hibernating here and getting season 3 all planned out for you. I will go ahead and finish that. And I actually was going to have her on the show to talk about oil painting. Unfortunately, schedules did not mesh. But you know what? I think season 3, I put in a call. She's going to definitely be there for season 3 for one of our episodes for there, because I know she's an awesome, awesome, awesome painter. And when I look at her stuff, I am in awe. She did do the illustrations for my 3rd book of poetry, Wisdom from the Sack. I just can't say enough good things about her. Her artwork really touches my soul. And I know everybody that she comes in contact with has a special spot in their heart for her. So that's one of the things I learned in season 2 is that, we got to give ourselves time to get these projects done. And unfortunately, I didn't give myself enough time to get that project done. But that's okay, because I can still, I have all the time in the world. I just want to make sure that I get it knocked out, because, heck, wouldn't that be a great Christmas gift to give my girls, for them to see that their papa made a painting of them. Now, they've been down in the man cave. They've seen it. I hide it in plain sight, but they have no idea what it is. They're just like, oh, it's another one of Papa's paintings. Little do they know that it's going to be presented to them at Christmas time when it's all done. So I got to hurry up and get that knocked out before Thanksgiving, so that way the paint can dry and nobody gets high off of paint fumes. Okay, now back a few more episodes. In season 1 and in season 2, I had Ashley Hutchins on. Now, Ashley came on in season 1, and we talked about tattooing and how that is an art form. Now, full disclosure, Ashley has done the vast majority of the tattoos that have adorned my body. And I haven't shown you my tattoos that have adorned my body because you're not married to me, so you don't get to see them. No. They're not all in bad places. As a matter of fact, they're all in good places. But I haven't shown them, and I really need to, because she does some fantastic gray work. And in season 2, we talked to her about photography. And we actually took our little Zoom H5, which has made season 2 sound so much better than season 1, in my opinion, anyways. And we took the Zoom out, and we took it to a nice little restaurant. I'm not going to tell you the city, because I don't want you to even think about going to this restaurant, although it had tasty, tasty Thai food. Oh, my God. But we talked about photography. And, for me, photography, I did the 7-day black and white challenge back when I had my neck surgery last year. And that was fun. That was a fun challenge to do. I think Ramon Charez challenged me to do that. And I don't think he knew that I was on a lot of pain meds and could barely talk. But I went ahead and did that challenge in black and white. And yeah, it was photography is a wonderful form of art, and I definitely want to get more involved in the photography world. Spending the money on that, well, podcasting is expensive enough for me, so I might have to forego everything that Ashley was saying as far as equipment goes, or get a bit and piece, and work on my developing skills and work on some of the programs, and do it a little bit more on the cheap side than what she does it. But for me, yeah, definitely good photography is an art form. And we even shared a common hero in photography, which was Man Ray, which I think Man Ray's stuff is just, yeah, it's from the 30s, from the 1930s, folks, not the 2030s, the 1930s. And he was part of the Dada, Surrealist, that kind of, I don't want to call it abstract movement, but, it came in before abstract expressionism, but he was in that kind of a movement, and it's just fantastic work that I want to expose you to. I want you to go out to your library or your gallery or anything. If you see a exhibition of Man Ray, by all means, give it a look. See, check it out. If you're looking at your museums and there's a photography exposition, go for it. It's not going to hurt. Nobody bit me when I went to see this kind of stuff. No one's going to bite you unless you pay them enough. Then they might. But yeah, photography, it captures the moment. I was just actually looking at another website and another podcast. I'm on another Facebook group with the Veteran Artist Program, which is a really good podcast. If you're a veteran and you're an artist and you're kind of feeling alone out there, well, hey, I'm an artist too, and I'm a veteran too, so we're all there together, pals. Anyhow, one of the guys on there was doing photography and took a picture of his daughter, and just the daughter couldn't have been like more than 4, maybe 5 tops, but more, I would say 3 or 4, and it was black and white too, and just the look on the child's face, it was almost the child was almost in tears, and I know when I looked at it, it was just a powerful image. And I think it was powerful because it was in black and white, and because it was such a tight image on the child's face that it's tough to explain on an audio platform versus a visual platform. And I think even on a visual platform, it would be tough to describe because a lot of the adjectives that we use, wow, that's powerful, that's wonderful, that's fantastic. Words just kind of fail sometimes, and it's okay if words fail. It's the experience that's what's most important for me. So we did talk about that. We did talk about photography, and we brought Ashley back for season 2, and looking forward to getting another tattoo from her in the near future. So that way we can do some more art, and maybe we'll do a episode where we record the episode while I'm getting the tattoo. Wouldn't that be wild? If you want to hear that, KDOI Podcasting at gmail.com. You know you want to hear it. I know I want to do it. It's a great idea. And that brings me to one of my other loves, which is poetry and writing. We talked about creating your own book of poetry and how I created one of my books, Wisdom from the Sack, which we talked about with Heather Moon, and she did the illustrations for it. Well, Wisdom from the Sack came about from me doing a poetry challenge. There's the National Poetry Writing Month, and as I'm recording this, it is October the 15th, and in 16 days, it's going to be National Novel Writing Month. These things can help you get the inspiration that you need, the impetus. I don't even want to call it inspiration. I want to call it the initiative, the impetus, to go ahead and sit down and write something. Okay, writing down on a piece of paper, or I used to use steno notepads all the time. That was my trademark. I'd be sitting there with a steno, and that was just, you saw me with a steno, a pack of cigarettes, and a cup of coffee, and that was it. And that's my observations of the world. With Wisdom from the Sack, it was 30 poems in 30 days. They gave you 30 different prompts, and you just wrote according to those prompts. Now, with those prompts, they gave you kind of a style or a form to write in. So you had 30 different forms. And I really pushed myself on that. It's so much so that I said, you know what? The hell with 30 poems in 30 days. I'm going to do 60 poems in 30 days. Every time I got a new prompt, I went ahead and wrote 2 poems in whatever style that was. Put that all together and put it into a poetry book. Now, I had experience before with Lulu, making my first 2 books on lulu.com, which is it's, some people call that vanity press. That's what they call it, vanity press. And they look down on it, they go, poo-poo, of course you got published. You published yourself. You didn't go to a real publisher. Well, you know what? I don't have time for that. The market is pretty saturated for poets. Amazing, I know. The market's pretty saturated for poets and writers. And it's hard to make a living off of it. And did I happen to mention I have a house and a wife and twin girls that, demand food and clothing and heat and air conditioning? A lot of demands on my time. So, I have to do the day job, but the night job is to take a little bit of time for myself, doing a podcast, doing some art, doing some writing, doing these projects. So that way I have a little something for me at the end of the day and at the end of the year and at the end of my life that I can pass on and go, hey, listen, yeah, Papa, went to work and, put you through college and was able to provide for you. And also, here is the artwork that he did while he was doing it as a legacy to carry on. Kind of reminds me of a Kansas song, Carry On My Wayward Son. So we talked a little bit about my latest book of poetry, Shaving Crop Circles in My Chest Hair, which I was just recently at the third annual Independent Authors, Fredericksburg Independent Authors Book Fair. And I got to meet up with Julian, who is a first-time published poet, self-published poet. And he lives up in Frederick, Maryland. And he's a Marine. And he had a book of poetry out there. And it was a fantastic book of poetry. And I'm going to recommend it for everyone to go ahead and read. Is it necessarily my style? Nah, not necessarily my style. I saw in him, and after I read his book, it made me go back and read my stuff and kind of go, oh, if I'm going to, critique this, if I'm going to go poo-poo on this or poo-poo on that, I need to make sure that my shit's straight too. And mine isn't. Mine isn't 100% straight. It isn't 100% where I want it to be. And it challenges me. And it makes me go back and go, you know what? I need to read more poetry if I'm going to write poetry. And another thing too is the something that I've been hearing on NPR and other podcasts is a quote that there's no such thing as writer's block, because you've never heard anything like plumber's block or electrician's block. So it's basically go do the work. Now, if you're interested in doing the work, go do it. If you're not interested in doing it, then you can go, oh, I have writer's block. That's an excuse. There is an infinite amount of things to write about. You have a unique and interesting life. Go write about it. Absolutely, you have a unique and interesting life. And if you need help writing it, let me know. Or if I can't help you, I will point you out to somebody that can. Which reminds me, Chris Jones was the person that we interviewed. Now, he helps people write their books, market their books, and get them published. Not necessarily a literary agent. I would say a literary coach is what he does. And he also has his own podcast, The Art of Writing. The Art of Business Writing, which is a fantastic podcast. You should listen to it. And, we talked about the whole, self-publishing kind of thing. He doesn't do poetry. He does fiction and nonfiction and that kind of stuff. He lives in those realms. But what can be learned in those realms can also be brought to poetry in terms of self-publishing and getting it out there and marketing yourself. So that was a really great interview. Some of you heard it, some of you didn't, because the audio on it was, well, a little bit messed up. I had something on there that I don't, when I listen to it with headphones on my phone, I can hear it. When I take the headphones off and take the plug out of the jack, I can't hear his side of the conversation. So that's a little Easter egg there for you. If you can help me figure out why that happened, shoot me an email at KDOI Podcasting@gmail.com. So that was another project that is near and dear to my heart that I thought was really cool that we did. It was the poetry book for you out there. And the Shaving Crop Circles in My Chest Hair, that came from when I was doing a WordPress blog. I was doing WordPress.com versus WordPress.org, and I was letting WordPress host my site there, and I was on these, word of the day, inspiration word of the day things. And so I went ahead and did that, and I allowed that to be my initiative to go ahead and write. And that's something I definitely want to get back into, especially with National Novel Writing Month coming up next month. I definitely want to push out 50,000 words on top of push out another podcast, on top of attend DC Podfest, on top of, do a bunch of more meetups and connect and network and get season 3 off the ground for this podcast. So, yeah, busyness, I'm all about that. Another episode that I was really proud of was the string painting episode, where we took a piece of string and made some abstract art with it. Now, for that episode, I thought it was pretty unique because here's the thing. I was looking for an idea for an episode, and I was just watching some YouTube videos, some random YouTube videos, and it just popped up string painting. I was like, wow, what's this string painting thing about? And I was in trance. And I was sitting at work watching this video, and somebody else was sitting there with me that, doesn't consider themselves an artist. And they were in trance just like I was. And I was like, are you going to go do this? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, no. We're going to go do this. This is awesome. So you never know where that inspiration, where that idea is going to come from. For me, it was YouTube. And I think I'm not anti-technology. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, I want you to put down the phone and I want you to pick up a spatula. I want you to pick up a tattoo gun. I want you to pick something up and create something with it, even if it's with your phone. That's okay. I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti, social media or all that kind of good stuff. Because a lot of times that's where we get our ideas. It's a different window to look out of. Now, if we just sit there and drool all over ourselves and go, that's no fun. We're doing nothing with our lives. Let's go get inspired and go do something. And that's what the whole meat and potatoes of this podcast is all about. So anyways, nice little tangent there, Tim. I got on this YouTube channel with Art a la carte, which I thought was kind of cute. And she's doing the string painting stuff. And it seems deceptively simple. But when you start doing it, you kind of need to develop your own technique for it to make it work. I do a lot of short jerks. She did hers really smooth, one quick, smooth movement. Myself, I found it works better if I jerk it, which doesn't sound good now that it's out of my mouth and into the airwaves like that. But hey, jerk your string. Be like me, jerk your string. But anyways, I'm big into the avant-garde. I'm big into the subconscious and all that. This piece, it really spoke to me. The string painting really, really spoke to me. And it's something that I'd like to get my girls involved in because I think it's something that they can handle and have a good time with. And we can throw that up on the wall and frame it. And, when they hit 18, we can kind of go, hey, listen, this is, stuff that you created right alongside Papa. And that's really why I'm doing a lot of these projects, give them as a gift to my wife, for something for my girls when they hit 18 and go out into the world and conquer it. And that's what it's all about for me, for my art. That's who my audience is at this point, when I'm doing some of these projects. Now, for the podcast, you're obviously my audience, and you've been sitting here with me. Oh gosh, now we hit our 1-year anniversary, and we're looking at going for another year at least, maybe a few more. Season 3 is getting all planned out and rocked and rolled. And so we're at least going to be here for another season, if not, many, many more. But anyhow, go back and re-listen to string painting. I think that one is one that's simple and easy enough. I don't want to say to master, but to get the hang of. And it's challenging enough to have you come out with something completely unique with it. And it'll be all your own. And it won't be too messy and won't be expensive at all. I think you can get away from that project under $10 easily under $10. And look at all the only thing that's going to cost you is the frames. That's the only crappy thing about it. But then, if you get some poster frames, you can pick those up for dirt cheap. Anyhow, who cares about what it's going to cost you? Go have fun with it. That's the important thing. Okay, so another thing that I want to talk to you about is with each of the episodes. Now, earlier I had mentioned the whole TeePublic thing, where all the episode art is going to be out there. You can put it on a sticker, you can put it on a onesie, you can put it on a coffee mug, all that good stuff. Each episode had its own episode art. And how did I go about doing that? Well, there's this little program called Canva, Canva. And it's pretty much for free. You can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your tablet, you can do it on your cell phone. Most days I was doing it on my cell phone because I was like, hey, what am I going to call this episode, and what's the main idea behind it, and what's the image I want to share with folks? Well, I got on Canva, and I heard about it way back in season one. I think probably even before season one, I heard about it, and I just didn't take the time to play with it. Well, season two, I definitely took the time to play with it. And what you can do is you can size it, and this is great for podcasts because you can do it as an Instagram. You can make an Instagram post and make it the same size that you need for your podcast, for your episode art, or to go ahead and make a logo for your podcast or for your company, whatever it is. We'll talk more about logos in a little bit. But it's this little program that you can get a lot of images and a lot of effects for free. Some of the stuff you have to pay for, not too expensive, some of the images. And whatever you make with it is yours to keep. That is yours. It's yours. Knock it out of the ballpark. So check that out for yourself. The thing of it is that I'd be in the middle of a meeting or something like that, and my mind would wander. I'd get as I like to call it, a wild hair at my butt, and I was like, oh, I got to do something with this. I got to get this creativity out of me, and just kind of duck down, knock out a design, and be done with it. And then I'd share it with a few close friends and go, hey, how does this look? Can you read this? Does this grab your attention? And that's the other thing with this too, is you want to have people around you that will give you honest critique, that will say, hey, no, that looks like crap. I can't read that. Or a little bit higher, or a different font would work better, or a different color would work better. If you have good people around you that you trust, that's half the battle right there, because sometimes we just need that extra set of eyes to still just to kind of guide us and let us know, hey, listen, we're on the right track. We're going to reach an audience at some point. But Canva is what I've been using to do all the show art with. And basically, you can upload images and then overlay it with different text, different pictures, or you can use from their image gallery if you don't have a lot of images that you want to use. But you should, especially if you're doing that photography exercise. You knew I was going to get you back with that photography exercise. So, and basically, a lot of this stuff is you're making a library of images for yourself. Especially with the photography, but with the painting, the collage, all that good stuff, you're making an image gallery for yourself that you can use, and maybe to build a website, whatever you want to do. It's been an interesting trip because I had I had two field trips that I went on. One was for my job. I was in Texas for a week. Learning how to do my day job, which I've been doing for 4 years. But hey, you know what? We can all learn something new, right? Yeah, I'm smiling really hard on that one, and I'm biting my tongue and talking to you on this podcast. Multi-talented, I think so. Anyhow, I went to that and had a good time down in Texas. Even turned out an episode and worked on an episode while I was down there. And then I did MapCon out in New Jersey with Super Joe Pardo, and had a wonderful 2 days out there talking with other podcasters and learning some really cool tricks of the trade and all that. So this whole season has been an experiment with audio and using that as my art form. Learning different techniques on how to edit, learning different programs to use. I first started off in Audacity, and now I've moved to Hindenburg. I have for my microphone, I have a ATR 2100. When I was first doing my show, I was running it through a different kind of condenser mic that would cost me like $5. It sounded like crap in season one. But season two, I stepped up the game, and I even got a digital recorder, a Zoom H5, to help out as well, to give me a good signal to go into Hindenburg, so that way I have less editing to do. So this whole season has been a project in and of itself for me to get better at my craft and get better at my skill, and see if I can't turn out a better product for you to listen to. On top of that, I'm learning new ways to market this podcast, and different ways of going out on the social networks and correctly engaging people. And one of the things that I learned is, a lot of people go out there and they shotgun things, and I'm guilty of it too. They shotgun their show to every website out there, to every group out there, but they don't add anything to the conversation that's already happening to the group. So I've kind of cut back a little bit from my shotgun stuff, for my marketing, and I'm trying to be more involved in the groups that I'm in and try to provide value to those groups, and then kind of go, hey, listen, by the way, I do a podcast as well. Also, I'm learning new ways to market my stuff, physically market it with Vistaprint. I do that for my business cards and for my postcards and for my T-shirts. Now with TeePublic, I'm doing that with stickers and T-shirts and onesies and mugs and all that kind of good stuff. And that way I can, make some money, make some of my money back from what I'm putting out there. So definitely I want you to go check it out and see if you like the stuff that you see out there. Go buy some of it. You're supporting an artist right here for sure. One of the things that when I started off this podcast, I was big time against, hey, I don't want to monetize this. I'm rethinking that a little bit, and I'm letting you guys know that right now. I'm rethinking that a little bit, and so I'm dipping my toe in the water there, and doing the whole TeePublic thing. We're going to check that out, see how that is. It's free for me to set up and put things out there. So the only thing that it costs me is the time to actually go ahead and put it up there and then market it. So that's another thing. That's another skill that I'm learning. It's another art form that I'm learning. I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm working on it. And, will I ever be the greatest at it? We'll see. But it's something that I'm working on. With all these other art forms that I'm working with, it keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble. So that's always a good thing, keep me out of trouble. All right, so at this point, I'd like to go ahead and clue you in on a new podcast that I'm going to be putting out here. And here's the promo for it. It's called Gray Heroes. And it's a thing that I've been writing for a number of years, and I didn't really have a good outlet for it. So now that I have a good outlet for it, and I'm working on it, there's been some setbacks with it in terms of my physical health and everything that's gotten in the way, and then just life in general and being so busy that another skill set that I'm learning, another art form that I'm learning is budgeting my time and planning things out. Recently went ahead and bought a year planner. And that's where I'm going to be putting all my stuff, putting all my goals, and trying to set stuff up. I've been good with the scheduling so far in these 2 seasons, but it's something that I can always get better at. And then adding another podcast to that, I'm really going to have to market my time and budget my time wisely. So take a listen to the promo here for Gray Heroes. And we'll be right back after the promo to continue on with this conversation.
Do you like your heroes with a little more than 2 dimensions? How about some dirt underneath their fingernails? Tired of heroes in tights and white hats? Come on over to Gray Heroes, where no one gets out clean. Stories about people who play by their own rules. Take a listen at grayheroes.com. and put those pretty flyboys in capes and tights to bed. Gray Heroes, just a hair over on this side of the law. Gray Heroes, no one gets out clean. New stories every 2 weeks at grayheroes.com. Subscribe today.
All right, and we are back. So, wow, we've gone through a lot of stuff here today, and we got a little bit more to go through. Because you are sticking through here to find out what the heck's going to happen in Season 3. What is Tim going to do in Season 3? Well, first thing we're going to do here at the end of Season 2 is answer the age-old question, who the hell is Timothy Kimo Brien? Who is this guy? Why is he here? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, quite frankly. Myself, I'm an artist. I have a voice. I try to challenge myself every day to do something creative and leave my mark on the world. And it's not necessarily, the stuff that I do is not necessarily for everybody, okay? But here's the thing. You're listening to this podcast. Somebody recommended it to you, or you just stumbled upon it, or I tapped you on the shoulder, handed you a business card and said, hey, I do podcasting. Take a listen. And boom, here you are. You're listening to it, okay? If you're listening to it, this is for you. If your neighbor, isn't listening, then it may not be for them. I'm a father of two wonderful girls, and I do want to leave something for them when I'm long gone from this world. But that's not going to be for a very long time. My wife reminds me of that every day. Unless you talk to my doctors, who usually try to find something new wrong with me every day, so that way they can, make their yacht payments. I create because that's something that I do. Sitting down, writing show notes, for me, that's a creative act. I don't have to do it. I could just improvise the whole thing, but then improv does require a lot of practice. Just ask my good friend Nelson Velasquez or Ramon Charez about that. And they do the improv thing out in Chicago and northwestern Indiana, the hotbed of improv. I ran into them a long time ago when I was living in Chicago, and we worked on Salsation projects. I worked on Salsation projects with them. Had a great time. Learned a lot about improv. There's a lot of rehearsal that goes into improv. It's not just, hey, I'm getting on the stage and boom, I'm funny. It's, hey, I'm practicing a lot of things and getting comfortable with people. And it's not necessarily I'm out there to be funny. It's I'm there to do a scene. I'm there to do a job. And if it happens to be funny, even better. So for this, every part of it is a creative act for me. The show notes, the marketing, the website, the coming up with the ideas of which episodes we're going to do and when we're going to do them and how we're going to do them. For me, that's my art right there. I'm in the middle of a creative act. And for me, I have to be creating something at all times. Otherwise, I get bored. And I'm like, why am I here? I'm an artist. I create. That's who I am. When people say, hey, who are you? What do you do? I create art. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm an artist. And then, here's my day job. This is what I do for money. So it's always, I always either dread that question or revel in that question because then I can go off on a whole long diatribe if they're willing to listen. And so far, you've been willing to listen to me. So that says a lot about you and our relationship. Now, as I said earlier, in the past few weeks, I've heard this quote about writer's block, and artist block is the same way. There's no such thing as plumber's block or electrician's block. You got to get out there and do the work. If you want this for yourself, go do it. Now, you don't necessarily have to make a living off of it, but I have a sneaky suspicion that you're sitting here listening to me and you have a creative bone in your body. You may already be doing this artwork and you're like, hey, I want a new idea. I want a new project idea. Boom. I gave you 13 ideas. Go knock it out. Shoot me a picture. Tell me the story behind it, because with every project, there's always a story behind it. So where does all this lead? You've sat through 2 seasons, and where are you at? Are you a great artist right now? Maybe you are. Maybe you were a great artist before you came into this, in these 2 seasons. Maybe you're a little timid and you're like, hey, can I really do this? I hope at this time you're feeling more confident about yourself and feeling that you can do this, because I know you can do this. I can't see you right now. Maybe you're like me and, you take a shower when you're listening to podcasts, or when you're on, 4-hour car drives, you throw in a bunch of podcasts and the people in your car are like, oh God, or on your commute. For me, it's creating something with my own hands and giving it to my family. Yeah, we can go on Amazon, who's not sponsoring this podcast, or we can go to the big box stores, which are going out of business. Toys R Us went out of business. Sears is going out of business, or they're hitting bankruptcy. These big box stores, they're going out of business. And I think people are waking up to the fact that, hey, I can make stuff with my own 2 hands. We're using the technology that's already out there to get the information that we need to, be a little closer to our friends and family. So let's make stuff with our hands. So that's what you're getting out of this podcast. That's where you're at. You're getting some inspiration. You're getting some initiative. I'm trying to kick you in the butt and get you to go ahead and do something, because I tell you what, it feels fantastic to hand something to a loved one and go, I made this with you in mind. Instead of, hey, here's another gift card to Amazon, or here's another gift card to the cheese factory. Big whoop. I mean, I like getting those because then I'll go get what I want, but there's no thought in that. And I would rather have a gift that you put some thought into. Really, that's if you're not going to put any thought into it, just give me a gift card and be done with it. Just go, oh, it's your birthday, here you go. Don't even acknowledge it's my birthday or Christmas or Kwanzaa or the spaghetti, the death rays from the spaghetti monster from outer space. And don't even acknowledge that then. But if you're going to give a gift, give it from the heart. That's what it is. That's what gifts are. It's from the heart. It's meant to be something there for you. So make that gift. All right. So let's talk about season 3 and what you're going to see in season 3. So I keep on alluding to it. You're going to see a new logo. The old logo is a fine logo. It's a microphone with KDOI underneath it. It's a podcast. The new logo is something that I made on Canva. Hey, amazing. I actually made it at MapCon. So Joe Pardo, thank you so much for inspiring me in that, and for all the speakers there inspired me. Yeah, I didn't pay attention to one of the speakers because I was busy doing the thing on Canva to make my new logo. But for me, it's it feels good to have that new logo out there for season 3, and there'll be a new bump in and bump out music as well. I like to have new music for each season to give it its own flair, to give it its own feelings. That way you can go, oh, okay, this is season 1. This is what he was doing in season 1. Season 2 is this. Season 3 is going to be a little bit different. Now, we're going to do projects, and I like to run my seasons 12 to 14 episodes, with like the last episode, like this one being a wrap-up episode, and I count this as an episode. But I really want each season to be its own thing. So in season 3, you're going to have about 4 projects. We're going to do 4 interviews because I think the interviews are very important. I think you need to know people that are doing art, and maybe they'll open up a new avenue for you to go ahead and explore. And then there's going to be 4 conversations, which are not necessarily going to be interviews. It's going to be me and somebody else talking about an aspect of art, which that's a broad topic right there. That is very broad. And I'm not going to try to nail it down any more than that. We're just going to talk about some aspect of art with somebody that I know and respect. And we're going to bring in some new people that I don't personally know in this. We toyed around a little bit with that in season 1, season 2, and we're going to bring that out in season 3 for sure. So season 3, you're going to notice a couple of changes. There's going to be a new logo, so look for that. Don't be afraid. Enjoy the transformation. Let me know what you think about that new logo too, please. And there will be new music. Not really changing the format too much. I like to keep these about a half hour to an hour long. I know anything more than an hour, people are going to, do what they do. But if it's a half hour to an hour, I think you get a lot in that time frame. I think it's long enough for you to get something out of it in that time frame. Plus, with some of these projects that I do, you can usually knock them out in 2 or 3 hours. You usually have to wait for something to dry or some sort of process to go through, something along those lines. But some of these projects you can knock out in 15 minutes and be done with it. But I think the projects that are that quick, you don't get that much satisfaction out of. It's more of like an assembly line kind of thing. So I like to keep my projects a little bit on the longer side, more drying time. Screw more cowbell, more drying time. All right. So that's what you're going to see there. We will bring the satanic 7 questions for the interviews. We'll figure out something for the conversations to make them their own unique thing. But that's the new thing that we're adding on to the format is the conversations. So I'm really excited about that aspect of it. The first season I was excited about doing interviews. Second season I was excited. Hey, we're going to do projects. Third season, let's do a little bit of everything. let's add in the conversations as well, because I think that's very vital, and to get another opinion in here. And by all means, if you're interested in joining me in those conversations, KDOI Podcasting at gmail.com is the best way to go ahead and do it. I'm excited to get ready to start off the new season. The new season is going to start in January of 2019. We're still going to be every other week on Saturdays. Every other Saturday, we're going to keep that schedule. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break. So I'm recording this, like I say, in middle of October. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from here, but then I'm going to go right into working on season 3 and getting that knocked out for you over the holidays, which should present interesting logistical situations because everyone wants to go away on holiday. But I will jump on people and make sure that I get them taken care of. So until we see you in the next season, remember we have Gray Heroes that'll cover while this season kind of goes into a little bit of winter hibernation. But expect to see us in January of 2019. And folks, hey, create more than you consume. We'll see you in January. Make sure that my shit's straight too. And mine isn't. Mine isn't 100% straight. It isn't 100% where I want it to be. And it challenges me. And it makes me go back and go, you know what? I need to read more poetry if I'm going to write poetry.